Welcome, everybody, to the Artificially Smart Marketing Podcast, where we explore the exciting world of artificial intelligence and its impact on marketing. Every week, we feature in-depth conversations with industry leaders, tech experts, and marketing professionals. Our guests share their insights and experiences on how AI is transforming marketing and providing businesses with a competitive edge, keeping you up to date on the latest trends and best practices in AI-powered marketing. Now, whether you're new to the world of AI or an experienced professional, the Artificially Smart Marketing Podcast is the perfect place to learn about the latest advancements and how they can be applied to your business. Join us each week and let's explore the intersection of AI and marketing together. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Artificially Smart Marketing Podcast. My name is Matthew Manyak, the co-host, here with our host, Tony Aponte. Long time no see, Tony. How you doing?
Long time no see. Good, Matt. How are you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. I got my AI generated coffee here, so
There
we
you go.
are we're living it up over here.
Yep.
Um, so we've got a lot of really great things that we're going to be covering today for those of you listening, and a lot of it has to do with graphic design and AI. And we know that this is kind of a say taboo topic because there's the whole argument going around right now of is AI art actually art? And I think that both sides have kind of a good amount of base to form their conclusions on and to form their opinions on. But I mean, Tony, like, what is your take on that whole concept of is AI art actually art?
Well, it's for me, coming from an artistic background, art is art, right? It's to me, it's no, however it was created, it's art, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there that maybe disagree with that point, but it's it's whether it's the imagination behind it, right? It's the creativity that makes the art. And so I think this is I'm this actually I'm glad we're discussing this because this is a very hot topic out there right now. And it's gonna hopefully it'll give a little bit better insight to our listeners here as to how they can kind of position that coffee is not working for me today. Position themselves. Hard word.
No, definitely. I mean, to some extent, I agree with the concept of AI art not necessarily being directly art, but at the same time, I see it as just like what we've been talking about as a tool, right? So, I mean, I kind of liken it to the creation of Photoshop, right? So, looking at is a poster that someone makes in Photoshop, is that art if they use completely digital assets, or is art strictly say a painting that Van Gogh makes, right, or something to that extent, right? So what's the difference between say the artist that chooses to use digital assets and the artist that chooses to use the paintbrush? They're both creating something, and I think that I mean, looking at the film world, we say that in a lot of ways that there are no new ideas. It's just kind of a repurposing of old ideas and a mashing and blending of those old ideas to create new ones, right? Like if you look at Hollywood, there's only a kind of a finite number of plot lines that we follow, right? Like we have the hero's journey and things like that. And so what I think we need to consider, or something that may not be being considered right now in this debate, is the element of that, but by using AI, because with these AI to image generation models, they're trained up on so much data, so much prior work, that it's like, okay, if I do say if someone's making a movie, right, and they do a story about the son of a king and the uncle kills the king to then become the new king and dispels the son, who then comes back later to take his rightful place as the new king and overthrow the uncle. What do we got? We got Hamlet, we got Lion King, we got all the variations of that, right? So what's the difference between a say like a human writer doing that and an AI writer doing that, or a human say artist doing a painting of or an oil painting of uh the moon versus an AI model doing a painting of the moon. It's all kind of the same concept, and so I think that's kind of something that needs to be considered, right? Is is what we're doing anything really different, truly at its core, than what these AI models are trained to do, or what we are training these AI models to do.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my, thought process, my take on it. I mean, again, I do see the value in both sides of the argument. I'm not saying one's right. I'm not saying one's wrong, but I think we need to definitely consider that what these things are at the end of the day are
Yep.
tools,
Yep.
and it's like, right, like the way that I use uh, tools like Midjourney and Leonardo and things like that is I create assets to then blend into the final product, right? So I was showing Tony earlier today a set of playing cards, right? That I was developing with a buddy of mine, and we leveraged these AI tools to kind of create the back and adjusted the colors a little bit, the format a little bit to kind of fit what we were looking for, and then took a different rendition of the front, and finding ways to remove the say like the internal frame to insert your own image and things like that, right? There's elements that you can blend with these tools and not just using the output verbatim, kind of like what we talked about or what we always talk about ChatGPT. It's just, again, leveraging these as what they are, as tools, and not depending on them or say cheating with them.
Right.
And even that, right, there's still different ways that you can leverage these to save time and things like that, for things like creating stock photos in a way, or stock images that you
Mm-hmm.
can use. So I mean, Tony, tell me a little bit about how you're using these text to image generators.
Yeah, I something I wanted to add in there is in respects to artists. You're always going to have a market for both, right? You're going to have a market out there that still believes in the human art, the person, the time and the skill of someone going in there and doing oil painting, right, or a pastel or charcoal, whatever. And that, and so the thought of the thought of AI taking my job away really, I don't think really applies really as strongly as most people think it's going to, because you're always going to have a market. It's at the end of the day, it's about how you position yourself, right? However, like me, I value the skills of someone that can literally go in there and create some awesome art through a different medium, right? Not digital, but through, you got people out there that you see them on Facebook and reels all the time, where they're creating all kinds of art with chalk on the sidewalks where it looks like it's 3D, where like literally realistic. You got pen and ink. I'm a big pen and ink fan. Okay, I love pen and ink, and the whenever you get in there and you can see some art that the details is just ridiculous. Then you got people that can just go balls to the wall with crayons. So it's there, we still the mediums are still going to be there. They're going to have a market. Um, and then you have the digital side. I love digital art. I think digital art is awesome. The details that you can create. I mean, with movies, the animation today is just ridiculous, compared to what it was, back in the 90s, right? You can literally put two movies together, and if it was remastered, I mean, it's just night and day, right? And so a lot of times when watch these animated movies, it just boggles my mind as to how awesome it is, right? And so, I like I one of the things that I love to do is use, Midjourney to help speed up the process for coming up with branding, right? And logo ideas, website layout designs, and this is just to help speed up the process. All it's going to do, because sometimes trying to sit there and not really having something that's thrown out in front of you, and you're trying to, go through the whole due process that you normally would, it takes a lot longer whenever you have something that pops up. You can kind of give Midjourney the idea of what you're looking for, and it pops something up, and then like, okay, great. Now I have something that I can build on. So it cut my brainstorming session down in half. And so that's really the way I use it for whenever I do content creation, social media posts. Take the content and try to come up with some visual concepts to try to get the message across. And so that's really where I use it mostly for. I know Matthew, you're a lot more into it because you do video production. So you're at a different level versus someone that is just looking for some imagery. So it's I think the one thing that I think it's really important for everyone to really take away from this right now is that everyone has a level of creativity and everyone hits a block, right? Copywriters, web designer, everybody, you're always going to hit a mental block. Midjourney, ChatGPT, these AI tools that we're always talking about, these are tools. Again, this is going to hit back on the point that you made, Matthew, about these are tools to help us be a lot more productive. And these are just going to help us get past those blocks so that way we can kind of be a lot more efficient and get things done a lot faster.
Yeah, and I definitely want you to talk a little bit on that website brief that we were talking about earlier, and how you leveraged Midjourney to develop that. And for those of you listening, Tony and I were having a conversation earlier today, prior to recording, and yeah, I'll kind of let you talk a little bit on that and kind of what the plan was for that, and or at least a little bit on how Midjourney helped you in that brainstorming process, because I think having some sort of visual or some sort of uh, case study for people to be like, hey, maybe I wasn't considering using Midjourney or any of these text to image generators in this way. Can you tell me a little bit about how you use it to develop the product that you did?
Yeah, for sure. I think this is like, as a web designer, I think this is like a really cool tool to use, Midjourney. And there's also another tool that I use. It helps with prompting. Um, and we'll put the links in the description so that we have access to it. But basically, and this is for our website as for you guys, just so we're kind of playing around for our website. And I gave it the command of kind of basically what I'm looking for, the colors that I'm looking for. Again, if you know anything about website design, you want to make sure that you incorporate color psychology. So, with that, and I've kind of included the colors that I think our brand needs to represent. And I just basically gave the command that, since we're into AI, I gave it the command that I want a small business owner that's part Android, part businessman, dressed in represents an executive CEO dressed in a suit, and then I gave it, a couple other commands that this tool actually provides that helps you out with. It kind of cuts having to sit there and trying to come up with the full command. And again, I'll put it in the description. It's a free tool, so it's really cool. You guys, I recommend you guys kind of play around with it and see how you can use it. But in that tool, it actually has different features that you can actually tell it that you're trying to design a website, the UI and UX and all that. So you give it that command, and it inputs into the prompt, and so that helps out. But it took me about, I would say, maybe 10 commands before I finally got the layout that I wanted. And this again, let's kind of put something out there real quick, is that this is not a perfect solution, right? It's going to require your input. You're going to have to go in there and really tell it what you want, and be very descriptive in order for you to be able to get the results you want. This isn't a end all solution, because now at the end of the day, I need to take that concept now and then start building the website. So it's not going to build my website for me, which I'm sure there's tools out there already that are getting there. But now the thought process of the design, it's already been done, and now I can focus on building the website so we can go ahead and get ready for launching it. So that's how I was able to use that. I think it's pretty cool. It's exciting. For me, it makes the job a lot more enjoyable, fun.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, kind of from that same point, right? For those of you out there that might be doing something similar, right? And then you've got to present four different proofs to your client. Like you could just say, "Hey, I'm going to mid journey it up." That way, you're not having to build four different, you know, like templates or proofs or
Yep.
something for the client, and say, "Hey, roughly," with it's like excuse the funky symbols here because mid journey is still working on their text in image or text in image, font in image uh, elements, but
Yep.
being able to say, hey, roughly which of these four do you like the best, and we can kind of run it from there. So it's like
Yep.
there's that application too. Same thing with logo design, right? Being able to say put your prompt in, put all your information in into like say like a mid journey and say, hey, roughly which of these do you like the most? Because then, I mean, for having to be skilled in Adobe Illustrator, also AI technically.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking about the same thing.
Yep, yep. So because after that, right, you can take it into Adobe Illustrator, either vectorize it in there, or if you want to kind of just take that as like an influence and then work it from scratch and still have that kind of like knowing the end result that you're going for, and then just replicating that in Adobe Illustrator so you have the vector. Because that's the one thing, I mean, beyond font and text that I think
Yep.
is really holding these text to image generators back is the inability to output in a vector format.
Yep.
Like
And,
the
Matthew, let me
day,
ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. How much time do you think, compared to sitting there on Adobe Illustrator and coming up with five different concepts to send to the customer to get the feedback before you can even start on one, versus having a mid journey, creating the concept, what, maybe an hour at the most, and then sending it to your customer? I mean, what's the in your mind, what's the time difference? What do you think is the difference there?
incalculable. Obviously, it depends on the complexity of the logo design, right?
Right,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
so a lot of the stuff that prior to AI that I was developing was very, simplistic, minimalistic. I mean, obviously, that's kind of where the trend of design is going from like a logo standpoint, right? But a lot of the stuff that I was doing was very, minimalist, simplistic in its style and in its form. And so, I mean, the time that I would spend was probably minimal, like I say minimal in comparison to someone that's doing more of like I don't know, like a gorilla climbing a building kind of
Right.
logo or something like
Yeah.
that, right? Because then you got a lot more little micro elements to it. And so, like that is something that would probably take me several hours.
Hmm.
And for me to justify that, my rates would probably have to go through the
Right.
roof. And so
Right.
now what this does is this allows me to increase my output and be able to keep my fees in that department more, I say commercially acceptable for where I am geographically located and for the types of clients that I tend to work with
Right. And
in my area.
yep. And a point on that there too, is that is it's really interesting that you said that, because another, because I'm sure there's going to be some people thinking, oh my God, that means I'm going to have to lower my rates now, because, it doesn't, people are going to start realizing that maybe it's not taking, me that long to do it. That's actually not really the right type of thinking, because it's all about how you position it, right? If you position, if you're a premium, okay, if you position yourself as a premium graphic designer, you got high quality, graphic design, and not only that, but your customer service, right? The experience that business, the prospect has with you. There, there's nothing to say that you got to lower your price. The way I would look at it is that now your profit margins have increased because the time that you spend on creating is less, but yet you're still delivering on what you promised from the very beginning, even before AI. So it's something definitely that I'm sure a lot of people really have in the back of their mind, but it's all about how you position yourself.
Right, and to that same point, for full transparency, I do not position myself as a premium graphic design provider. I am a premium video service provider. Video production, video post production, that is my specialization. I will occasionally be asked if I do logos, and in the
Yep.
rare occasion that it makes sense for me to take on that project, I'll say yeah. But like again, just like what you said, it is about positioning. And I do leverage AI tools in my video production and development process that have elevated the margins, that have increased productivity.
Right.
So for those of you listening, what Tony is saying does actually work, and it has worked for me. And it is all in how you position yourself and all in how you apply these tools to your workflow.
Right.
Again, in the graphics element, that's not my specialty. That's not my go-to.
Right.
So for me to take on a graphics project tends to be a little bit more of a time investment that applies an opportunity cost to the video work that I do. So
Yep.
that factors into my calculation for transparency and for context in that regard.
Yep.
But yeah, definitely agree with you, Tony, as far as the positioning of it and the ability of these tools to elevate the margins and elevate the effectiveness and the efficiency of the turnaround time.
Yep. Yep. That should be, and that, at the end of the day, that's really should be the goal of the business owner, right? Is to how can I lower my time, as far as having to work in the business versus focusing on growing the business, right? And so this, in my opinion, and I know Matthew, you agree with this, is that this should be an exciting time for business owners, especially for graphic designers, because now they have such a powerful tool to help them not only speed up the process, but really tap into their creativity and really deliver on some really awesome designs. Because now you've got a tool like AI to really just kind of 10x your creativity.
No, definitely. And again, kind of going back to, I mean, we said this about ChatGPT and copywriters, right? Is think of this as a tool that can deliver your first draft, your rough draft.
Hmm. Yep.
Because again, it provided that you're skilled in Adobe Illustrator, right, or whatever your graphics design platform program of choice is, right? You can take these outputs, vectorize them, and then be able to tweak them and adjust them and modify them to fit your liking and fit your needs. And so it can take some of the say the creative stress work out of the process if you choose to use it in that way. Maybe you just use it and say, all right, I just kind of need something to kind of get my wheels turning as far as the look, the feel, the style, but I'm not going to use anything that the AI outputs. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. I'm not saying that it's and we're not saying that you have to use this, but if it is something like that, if we're looking at the future, the business people, the creatives that are going to be the most successful are going to be the ones that leverage these tools to their full capacity to
Yep.
elevate their outputs, to elevate their productivity, and to increase the value that they can provide to their clients.
Right.
And um, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Do you think that graphic designers need to worry about whether or not it's going to take their job or not?
I mean, again, looking at it from the standpoint of will AI take jobs? Just like we said before, AI is not going to take jobs. It's going to be the people that know how to leverage AI and that use AI are going to come for the jobs of the ones that don't.
Yeah.
And that I think is what what we need to understand and respect that will be the case. Um,
Yep.
and we're already seeing it, right? We're seeing I forget what it was, like IBM or something was ceasing hiring for jobs that they believed could be implemented by AI.
Right.
And to some extent, yes, that is AI taking jobs of people. But
Hmm.
if we look at it, it's there's got to be someone that's controlling that AI. So it's those
Right.
people, those maybe three or four, maybe 10, whatever the department is, that know how to leverage those AI tools are now taking the jobs of, say, whatever 40 to 70 openings that might have existed.
Right.
Right. And I
Right.
think it's that kind of, say, exponential curve that we need to be aware of and be cognizant of in order to make the most effect of these tools in our own businesses.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And one of the ways that I look at it is that it is going to take some jobs, but it's going to be the jobs that are require in dealing with the mundane stuff, the stuff that is just redundant. They're over and over and stuff like that. So that's where I think it's going to be affected. I do not believe that it's going to take the jobs away from the actual creators, right? Because they still need to um, create, and now they have a way to exponentially increase their output when it comes to being a creator. It's just another way of using a tool to eliminate some of the redundant stuff.
Yep. I mean, again, I said this before. I'll say it again. Uh, Specifically in relation to these text to image tools, it's basically like the creation of Photoshop. Like
Yeah.
it's another tool. It's another resource that we as creators and designers can use and leverage to achieve what we want and to get the results that we want for our clients. As long as we have the commercial license for these tools. That's a very
Yep.
important thing to consider because when you don't have commercial license, that's when things get messy. So,
Right.
I mean, for those of you that may not know, just a quick note on that is that having the commercial use licenses from these platforms and these tools is going to be incredibly important because without that, uh, if you read into the terms and conditions, terms of use for a lot of these programs, whenever you don't have the paid platform or the paid version, then those programs own or those platforms technically own the rights to the output or something to that extent. But it's different from tool to tool, program to program. Read the terms and conditions. If you don't just click that box. The only box that you should be clicking is the like button and the subscribe button on our podcast if you enjoyed this video and if you enjoyed this episode. But before we close out, Tony, do you have any closing thoughts, anything that you want to leave our viewers with this week?
No. The only thing I just want to say is that embrace it, right? Embrace technology, embrace AI now, because it's it's not gonna wait for you. That's for sure.
This is true. This is very true. But awesome, guys. Thank you so much for watching another episode of the Artificially Smart Marketing Podcast. We will see you in the next one, and have a great rest of your week, everybody. Take care.